What is going on, everybody? I go by the name of Kari, and I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on SneakerPhetish. Perhaps the last time we're ever going to see this logo on a box that looks like this. We just got what I believe might be the very last Kobe sneaker that we get from Nike. And what's interesting is that we're gonna take a look at the sneaker today, but it makes me wonder if this was kind of a quiet ending for the Kobe estate at Nike, which unfortunately, in my opinion, is a bit disappointing. Without further ado, let's get into it. Boom. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Nike Kobe 6 Protro Del Sol. This shoe right here is, I don't know, like there's a lot of history going on in this shoe, but unfortunately the kind of history that's embedded within this sneaker, I don't think is the best way to leave the legacy of Kobe with Nike. So let's get a little bit into the sneaker and then let's talk about what was going on back when this sneaker first dropped. All right, now starting with the upper of the sneaker here, you guys will notice that the first thing here is kind of the scales. Typical Kobe 6 Protro scales here, but this time you notice that the scales actually look a little bit more gray, a little bit more metallic, if you will. Now right underneath those scales, you have that classic black swoosh on the lateral and medial side. You also have this classic TPU, I believe is the material for this cage here, locking that heel in place. Really like kind of this shimmery, kind of whitish, kind of silverish material on the back of the heel as well. It actually feels really soft to the touch. It's nice. Classic black midsole on the full medial side of the sneaker and half of the lateral side of the shoe with the gold and of course the little Kobe code right here in the front of the midsole. Taking the top down, look at the shoe, classic Kobe 6 Protro here. You see you have that same kind of shimmery, kind of soft material on the tongue here with that black rubberized Kobe logo. Moving around to the heel of the shoe here, you got that black kind of rubberized material here with the gold Kobe signature. Moving to the outsole of the shoe here, you have that gold Del Sol color, which by the way, Del Sol, I believe is Spanish and translates to the sun or coast of the sun. And then of course on the heel of the shoe here, another Mamba logo as well, another Kobe logo. Nike really has these insoles stuck in here, but on the left shoe here, you see the KB, it says, I want a shoe. On the right shoe here, you see the 24 and it says that molds to my foot. And that's pretty much it as far as the Kobe 6 Protro Del Sol. Now, it's a great looking shoe. Of course, we pay homage to this sneaker because it originally dropped back in 2011 as a part of what's called the POP or the playoff pack. Now, let's talk a little bit about what was going on back in 2011 if you weren't really around or really checking Kobe or the Lakers out at that point. The Lakers were beat down. The Lakers were very tired at that point. By the time they got to the playoffs for 2011, they had played 67 consecutive postseason games. Those guys were tired. Now, Kobe was still trying to do Kobe things, still trying to muster up the strength and the energy to carry his team through to another three-peat. That's what they were trying to do. If you guys remember, the Lakers had won 2009 and 2010 finals, and they were trying to go for that second three-peat, of course, chasing that Jordan legacy. And Kobe played a lot of games, especially in the postseason in 2011 in this shoe. And by the time we got to the 2011 playoffs, unfortunately, they were swept in the second round by Dirk Nowitzki's Dallas Mavericks. They were able to get past the Charlotte Hornets, but in that next round, unfortunately, for the 7th time in franchise history, they were swept. Now, we also may remember that as Phil Jackson on his way out because Mike Brown, of course, started the new season with the Lakers following the 2011 NBA lockout, but that's all another conversation for another day. But besides all that, Kobe unfortunately was wearing this sneaker, which now to many fans may represent a sour moment in the Lakers history, the time that Kobe got swept. So it makes a lot of sense why the sneaker has not been getting a lot of noise out here. It makes a lot more sense why the sneaker's not worth as much money on the resale market these days. It is a Kobe 6 Protro. It is a sneaker that a lot of diehard Kobe fans still want to have in their collection that may not have been able to get them back in the day. But at the end of the day, the greater majority of people, they love those Grinches. It represents a happier time, a different time, and honestly, just in some people's opinion, looks better than the Del Sol. A couple of retailers actually ended up dropping the Del Sol, doing some raffles here or there. Of course, we all know by now the famous story of Foot Patrol over in London doing what they call was a raffle on the Del Sols, but mistakenly sending out a pair of the Mamba Forever tribute sneakers in place of the Del Sols, which got Vanessa Bryant in an uproar and probably soured any future hopes that Nike and the Bryant estate had at any kind of reconciliation. So here we are. Nike ended up doing a surprise draw of these sneakers a couple of days ago, and a lot of people still try to get the sneaker. I unfortunately wasn't even able to get my hands on the shoes, so I went on GOAT, and to my surprise, these sneakers were a lot cheaper than I thought that they would be, so I was able to grab them for about 250 bucks, which in my opinion wasn't that bad. Now, for all you resellers out there, will this sneaker go up in value? It's possible that it'll go up in value as maybe people down the line may end up wanting to collect more Kobe's, or maybe somebody wants to reach back and get a certain size of this sneaker. But unfortunately, like I mentioned, this sneaker really seemed to fly underneath the radar even after Nike did a full-on release of it. And why is that? Is it that, to my previous point, the sneaker represents kind of a sour history for Laker fans and Kobe fans? Is it the fact that now people are just kind of tired of the whole back and forth between Vanessa Bryant and Nike? Or is it just that there are so many other sneakers that are coming out, this one just kind of is falling by the wayside? Unfortunately, as we get further and further away from the Kobe line of sneakers, it seems like what used to be a white hot topic in a white hot space is dimming its light. And I kind of hate that for the Kobe estate, and I kind of hate that for Nike and Kobe, because it really does feel like the end of an era for Kobe and for Nike at this point. And I don't know, it kind of makes me feel a little bit of a way about that. You know, I'm a big fan of Kobe. Of course, I'm a big fan of Kobe and Nike and what they've done together, not just in commercials, but of course in product, apparel, things of that nature. And this one just really seemed to fly underneath the radar. So I don't know, guys, maybe this is it. Maybe this truly is it for the Nike and Kobe line and for the Nike and Kobe relationship. And it's unfortunate, but hopefully you guys were able to get your hands on these. And if you were, hopefully you guys will really appreciate them. Regardless of whatever happened back in 2011, Kobe still did phenomenal things on the court. And obviously his 5 rings proved that he was no slouch when it came to greatness on the court. So who knows? Maybe this sneaker will see a resurgence sometime in the future, and maybe people will double back on him and try to snatch up a pair. So I guess we'll end up seeing what happens. But in the meantime, now it's time for you guys to sound off down in the comments and let me know what you guys think about the Kobe 6 Protro Del Sol. Were you guys fortunate enough to be able to get your hands on a pair of these, or did you have to end up taking the L and having to go the resale route like I did to get your hands on them? Sound off down below. Let me know. Of course, right down in the comments, make sure that you click on that subscribe button so we can welcome you into the Sneaker Fetish family to make sure you don't miss out on any more heat that comes through like these, because I guarantee you, I got a lot more heat on the way. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Sneaker Phetish, taking a look at these with me, unboxing them with me for a couple of minutes. I go by the name of Kari. This is the Nike Kobe 6 Protro Del Sol, and until next time, I'm out.